If you watch this entire story through to the very end, you will unlock the exact blueprint that turns every act of betrayal into a silent empire of wealth and unbreakable control. Imagine life as the ultimate chessboard in the cutthroat streets of Chicago, where most people lash out with raw emotion and lose every square, while the truly wise move in calculated silence and claim the entire board. You will witness how one woman weaponized a public humiliation on her 32nd birthday into total financial independence, a thriving business dynasty, and a future no one could ever steal again. Stay with me. The lessons here are cold, precise, and more valuable than any stock tip or side hustle trend sweeping Gen Z right now. She sat alone at Romano's, that upscale Italian restaurant nestled in Chicago's River North district, the fork trembling slightly in her hand. The young waitress leaned in close, voice barely above a whisper, urging her to keep eating and not glance at the table in the corner. The warning landed like a precise strike. Her 32nd birthday dinner had been meant as a quiet celebration after 7 solid years of marriage. Yet Derek had dismissed her with an absent kiss on the forehead while scrolling through his phone, promising to make it up that weekend. She had still dressed with care in the black dress he once claimed made her eyes sparkle, styled her natural curls with elegant precision, and fastened her grandmother's pearl earrings for what now felt like a solitary performance. Every instinct screamed at her to turn, but she held her posture like steel. The waitress glanced nervously toward the corner and confirmed the man matched the photo on her phone case exactly, the one from their anniversary last year where his arm wrapped around her waist, and both smiled as if the world belonged to them. He sat with another woman, their bodies close in a way that left no room for doubt. The world beneath Zara tilted sharply. That photo had captured a day she once believed was perfect. Yet here he was, rewriting their history in real time. The waitress nodded sadly and explained she had sisters herself and could not let another woman sit unaware. Zara's hands shook as she set the fork down, the pasta now tasting like ash. Her untouched slice of tiramisu sat there like a mocking reminder. She asked how long they had been there. "About an hour," the waitress replied, "and they had ordered the most expensive champagne right away." He told her they were celebrating their anniversary. The words punched straight into Zara's stomach. While she marked her own milestone alone, he twisted theirs into some private milestone with someone else. She heard herself ask for the description, voice steady despite the storm building inside. Blonde, mid-20s, red dress hugging every curve, laughing loudly and touching his hand at every word. Recognition sliced through her like ice. It had to be Brittany, his secretary, the one she had met once at the company Christmas party, where their interaction felt too familiar even then. The waitress added softly that this was not their first time here. The manager remembered them from the previous month, same table, same lavish champagne. Last month aligned perfectly with the sudden string of late nights, the emotional distance, the phone glued to his hand like a second heartbeat. Zara straightened her spine. She would not collapse in public. She would not hand them the satisfaction of seeing her break. Instead, she asked the waitress to keep watch and snapped several blind photos with her phone held low, pretending to check a message. The images captured everything in damning clarity. Hands intertwined across rose petals, a small jewelry box opened, happy tears on the other woman's face. Diamonds caught the light around her throat, a gift he had never bothered to give Zara in years. For her birthday this year, he had simply handed her a mall gift card with the casual line that she knew her taste better than he did. Apparently, he knew Brittany's taste perfectly. Zara paid the bill with a generous tip that masked her resolve, gathered her purse, and walked out with her head high. As she passed their table, neither noticed her. They were too lost in each other to see the wife gliding by like a shadow. But Zara saw everything, and she committed every frame to memory. In the cool Chicago evening air, she thought with icy clarity, "Happy birthday to me. Time to gift myself an entirely new life." She did not drive home immediately. Instead, she sat in her car in the parking lot and studied the photos until her hands stopped trembling and her mind turned crystal sharp. The pictures were flawless evidence. Derek kissing Brittany's fingers, her showing off the new necklace, both of them comfortable in a routine that had clearly run for months. She noticed Brittany's wedding ring was missing from her left hand, while Derek still wore his. Thoughtful cheater, she noted without emotion. She started the engine but headed to a 24-hour coffee shop on Michigan Avenue instead, needing space to think, to plan, to process with the precision of a strategist. She ordered a large black coffee and claimed a quiet corner booth. First, she opened the banking app on her phone. The $247 charge for the meal appeared exactly as the waitress had described. Then she scrolled back through months of transactions and saw the pattern she had somehow overlooked. Romano's charges every few weeks: jewelry stores, unfamiliar hotels, lingerie boutiques, flower shops. Their joint money had been fueling his secret life. A cold fury settled deep in her chest, not the hot rage that burns out fast, but the controlled kind that forges empires. Derek was not merely cheating. He was systematically stealing from the future they had built together. She opened her laptop right there and began documenting with surgical care. Screenshots of every statement, the new photos from tonight. She created a folder labeled Business Expenses and saved it all inside. If he ever glanced at her files, that was all he would see. Next, she researched the sharpest divorce attorneys in Chicago, reading reviews, checking credentials, noting those who specialized in high-asset cases and financial misconduct. She was not ready to call yet, but preparation was power. A text from Derek arrived claiming another late night at work. She almost laughed aloud. He was probably heading to Brittany's place or some discreet hotel. She replied politely that the dinner had been lovely and thanked him for suggesting Romano's. The response came instantly: "Glad she enjoyed it. See you tomorrow." She turned off her phone and spent the next 3 hours immersed in legal rights, strategies for tracing hidden assets, and ways to protect herself financially in divorce. She took meticulous notes in a small hidden notebook. When she finally reached their Lincoln Park home near midnight, his car was still absent. The house felt alien now, every shared decoration a calculated lie. She walked through the living room they had furnished together, past the wedding photos on the mantel, past the throw pillows she had chosen to match the curtains. All of it felt like stage dressing. Upstairs, she stared at the king-size bed they shared and wondered how many nights he had slipped in after seeing Brittany and kissed her goodnight while thinking of another woman. She changed into pajamas, but sleep refused to come. Instead, she sat at her desk and reopened the laptop, digging into public records of Derek's business, mapping their full financial picture. She discovered credit cards opened in their joint names without her knowledge, investments listed only in his name, money moved between accounts in patterns that made no sense. Either he was terrible with money, or he was hiding assets in plain sight. Given tonight's evidence, she suspected the latter. At 3 in the morning, she heard his car pull into the driveway. She closed the laptop quickly and pretended sleep. He crept into bed without showering. The scent of another woman's perfume clung to his skin like evidence. He whispered her name softly, then offered a belated happy birthday and kissed her forehead. The casual cruelty of it stole her breath for a moment, yet she remained motionless, breathing deep and even. He had spent the evening with his mistress and now wished his wife a happy birthday 12 hours later. Zara lay there in the dark, listening to him fall asleep, and planned her next sequence of moves with the precision of a general. Tomorrow she would begin assembling an airtight case. She would document every lie, protect every asset, and start the quiet process of reclaiming her life. Derek had made his choice the moment he celebrated an anniversary with another woman while his wife sat alone. Now Zara would make hers. She smiled faintly in the darkness. He still believed she was the naive wife who would never suspect a thing. He thought he was clever and careful. He had no idea the woman sleeping beside him held a master's degree in business administration and had helped build his company from the ground up. That single forgotten fact would prove his greatest mistake. 3 days after the revelation, Zara sat across from Tony Rodriguez in his modest but impeccably professional office on the near North Side. Certificates lined the walls, and his no-nonsense demeanor inspired immediate confidence. She slid a check across the desk and stated she needed to know everything. How long the affair had lasted, where they met, what they did, who else knew. Tony, a middle-aged Hispanic man with kind eyes and a straightforward manner, had heard variations of this story countless times, yet treated hers with genuine respect. He gently warned that full details could cut deeper than the basic truth. But Zara replied firmly that she required courtroom-ready evidence and full financial transparency. She believed he was hiding money. She shared everything she already knew: the restaurant discovery, the bank statements, her suspicions about Brittany. She showed him the photos and compiled records. Tony was visibly impressed. Most clients arrived with only suspicions and pain. She had arrived with organized evidence. She explained she had once helped run her husband's business and knew how to research and structure information. He outlined his services clearly: surveillance on both Derek and Brittany, background checks, financial investigation, and evidence that would hold in court. Fees were reasonable, and he promised weekly reports complete with photos, video, and detailed logs. He would begin basic surveillance immediately and partner with forensic accountant Rita Chin for the money trail. Zara asked about the financial investigation specifically. Tony confirmed Rita specialized in hidden assets and warned the work could grow expensive. Zara stated coldly that she did not care about cost. Her husband had been stealing from their joint accounts to fund his affair. She considered this an investment in her future security. After signing contracts and discussing logistics, she left feeling lighter than she had in days. For the first time since that birthday dinner, she was acting rather than reacting. Her next stop was the bank, where she opened a personal checking account in her name only and transferred half their joint savings, fully entitled and now protected, before Derek realized she knew. Then she met with Dr. Patricia Wells, a sharp financial advisor in her 50s, known for aggressive advocacy on behalf of women navigating divorce. Patricia reviewed the documents and called Zara's early move smart. Most women waited until the money had already vanished. She spread the papers across her desk and highlighted the pattern of transfers from their joint business account to secret personal accounts and investments listed solely in Derek's name. Zara asked if that was legal. Patricia explained it was complicated since the account was joint, but if the transfers were made to hide assets ahead of divorce, it constituted fraud. Zara thought about the anniversary celebration with Brittany and concluded he had been planning this for some time. Patricia advised immediate action. Start your own consulting firm right now. Transfer every skill and client contact into a company that belonged solely to Zara. If Derek tried to claim half his business in the divorce, she would have independent assets to counter. The idea excited her. She had always wanted her own firm. Derek's betrayal might become the exact catalyst she needed for true independence. Patricia outlined the timeline. File the papers this week, operate from home initially to keep costs low, establish everything before filing. Zara left with a detailed action plan and a renewed sense of purpose she had not felt in years. She would build her own business, safeguard her assets, and create a life that no longer depended on Derek at all. That evening, Derek came home at his usual time, acting perfectly normal. He kissed her cheek and asked about her day while she prepared dinner. She answered vaguely about running errands around town. He mentioned possible late nights again for a big project, eyes avoiding hers. Of course, she replied with practiced calm. She served dinner and they ate like any ordinary married couple, exchanging small talk. He seemed relaxed and content, convinced his secret remained buried. If only he knew that while he deceived her, she was constructing a case that would dismantle his comfortable double life piece by piece. After dinner, she retreated to her home office and began drafting the foundation of Johnson Consulting LLC, specializing in operational efficiency and financial strategy for small businesses. She researched competitors, outlined services, and quietly reached out to potential clients using contacts from Derek's circle. By midnight, the basic structure was mapped. Her phone buzzed with the first surveillance report. Derek and Brittany had met for lunch at a hotel restaurant, then gone upstairs to a room he had booked. They stayed 2 hours. The evidence was already stacking like silent dominoes. Zara smiled as she closed her laptop. 3 days earlier, she had been a betrayed wife sitting alone on her birthday. Now, she was a woman with a clear plan, a professional team at her back, and a future that belonged entirely to her. Derek had no idea what was coming. 2 weeks deeper into the investigation, the reports grew overwhelming and precise. Derek and Brittany met 3 times a week at expensive locations charged to their shared card. The affair had stretched over 18 months, far longer than Zara first suspected. The photos were devastating. Passionate kisses in parking lots, hand-holding through shopping centers, Derek helping Brittany into his car like a devoted partner. One image showed them window shopping for engagement rings. Tony also uncovered that Brittany's husband Paul remained completely unaware. She fed him stories of late work or girls' nights while she spent those hours with Derek. The deception ran deep on both sides, yet the financial evidence hit hardest. Rita's forensic analysis revealed a web of hidden accounts and systematic transfers. Derek had moved nearly $200,000 out of joint accounts over the past year, building a parallel financial life Zara knew nothing about. Rita explained over the phone that the timeline matched the affair perfectly. Every major transfer aligned with gifts for Brittany or lavish dates. Derek had literally stolen from the business Zara helped build to finance his mistress. In divorce, she could claim dissipation of marital assets and force him to account for every dollar, likely winning compensation. First, she needed to protect what remained. Zara had already followed Patricia's advice. Johnson Consulting was officially registered, and she had secured her first 3 clients, small businesses needing financial planning and operational streamlining. The work felt satisfying and paid well. She documented every aspect of their home life with clinical detail: late nights, lies about work, the gradual erosion of intimacy. A hidden journal recorded dates, times, conversations. The hardest part remained pretending normalcy at home. Derek still played the devoted husband when convenient, bringing occasional flowers or suggesting a tropical vacation. The casual cruelty amazed her. One evening, while watching television, he remarked that she seemed stressed lately and suggested she see Dr. Peterson again, her old therapist from a difficult patch in their marriage years earlier. The irony was almost laughable. He was destroying their marriage, yet prescribing therapy for her. She replied calmly that she was fine, merely busy with new projects. When he asked what kind, she mentioned consulting work and the idea of starting her own business. She watched his face carefully. His expression stayed neutral, but a flicker of concern crossed his eyes. He dismissed it as too much stress and said they would see. That phrase lingered in her mind. It implied he still believed he held veto power over her future. The next morning after he left for work, she called her attorney for the first time. Rachel Kim ran an elegant office filled with law books and a conference table built for serious negotiations. She had already received a heads-up from Tony and reviewed Zara's evidence. This was one of the most well-documented cases of marital misconduct she had ever seen: affair, financial deception, dissipation of assets, an airtight case. Rachel outlined the divorce process in Illinois, the likely timeline, and the favorable asset division and support Zara could expect given the evidence. Since Zara was building her own income stream, she would not appear financially dependent during the transition. Zara stated without hesitation that she wanted to catch him completely off guard. He had enjoyed 18 months of choices. She owed him no warning. Rachel approved and promised to prepare paperwork in 2 weeks for service at his office, maximum impact and minimum chance for him to hide more assets. Zara left feeling powerful and in control. She had assembled a team of professionals, grown her own business, and locked in a legal strategy that protected every interest. That evening, Derek arrived with takeout from her favorite Thai place and a small bouquet of flowers. He claimed no special occasion, just wanted to do something nice for his beautiful wife. Zara smiled and thanked him, knowing from the credit card statement that he had taken Brittany to the same restaurant only 2 days earlier. It would be one of the last times he ever brought her flowers. In 2 weeks, his double life would collapse. Johnson Consulting exceeded every expectation. What began as strategic protection evolved into genuine passion. Zara had always excelled at business strategy and financial planning, but working directly with small business owners reminded her how deeply she loved solving complex problems. Her client roster reached 8 companies in 6 weeks. Word of mouth in Chicago's tight business community spread rapidly, and results spoke louder than any advertisement. She helped a struggling restaurant in Wicker Park increase profit margins by 30%, streamlined project management for a construction firm in Bridgeport, and guided a tech startup through its first funding round. The best part was operating from her home office, while Derek assumed she was merely filling time. He had no clue she now earned more per hour than he made at his own company. She chose clients strategically. 3 had existing partnerships with Derek's firm. She was not sabotaging his relationships, only building her own credibility inside his network. At a networking event Derek never knew she attended, she overheard one of his clients praising her work. "Zara Johnson is incredible. She solved supply chain problems in 2 weeks that we struggled with for months." Derek still believed she had dinner with her sister that night. The lies came easier now, though they occasionally bothered her. Then she remembered him celebrating an anniversary with Brittany while she sat alone on her birthday, and the doubt vanished. Tony's surveillance continued, painting a picture of total absorption in the affair. They met almost daily, long lunches, overnight trips to nearby cities. Derek claimed business conferences. Brittany told her husband she visited sick relatives. Financial forensics revealed even more hidden assets. Derek had opened investment accounts, purchased a timeshare in Florida, and bought a small boat docked at a marina 40 minutes north. All bought with money that should have been shared marital property. Rita explained during their weekly call that he was either planning to leave soon or sustain the double life indefinitely. Either way, he had constructed a separate financial foundation. Zara asked the total. Close to $400,000 now, plus the boat, the timeshare, and expensive jewelry for Brittany. A systematic transfer of wealth. Zara felt anger, but also a strange gratitude. His greed would make her divorce case ironclad. Meanwhile, her own business generated steady income and built an unassailable reputation. She hired a part-time assistant, secured liability insurance, and began scouting office space for future expansion. The independence tasted incredible. For the first time in years, she possessed something that belonged solely to her. Success earned through her own skill and effort. Living with Derek while knowing the truth remained emotionally exhausting. He continued the devoted husband performance whenever convenient, while maintaining the elaborate affair. One weekend, he suggested planning a tropical vacation, showing her brochures and noting they had not taken a real trip in 2 years. Zara agreed to look at options, knowing the trip would never happen. In less than a week, the divorce papers would be served. His vacation talk was simply another layer of deception. The hardest moments came when his affection seemed genuine, a hug from behind while she cooked, or a compliment on a new dress. She stopped trying to decipher real from performance. It no longer mattered. Derek had chosen, now she chose. Tuesday afternoon, her phone rang with a call that shifted everything. Angela Martinez from Hartwell Industries, a major regional corporation with over 200 employees across multiple divisions, had received her name from a satisfied client. They needed a consultant for a major restructuring project and wanted to meet. Zara responded professionally and agreed to the meeting the next day at 2. After hanging up, she sat in her home office and realized her life had transformed completely. 6 weeks earlier, she had been a betrayed wife with no real independence. Now major corporations courted her while Derek planned his exit with another woman. He had no idea his wife was building an empire. Her phone buzzed with a text from Derek claiming another late night. She replied that she was working on a big project too. She was not lying. The biggest project of her life was nearly complete. The meeting with Hartwell went better than she dared hope. Travis Mitchell, an impressive man in his early 40s with easy confidence, had built the company from a small family operation into a regional powerhouse. He valued good consulting and spoke highly of her previous clients' results. They spent 2 hours reviewing her proposal, discussing bottlenecks in shipping and customer service. Travis asked sharp questions and clearly cared about his employees as much as profit. By the end, he offered a 6-month contract for comprehensive operational review and restructuring. The fee exceeded her previous year's total earnings combined. There was one condition. The project demanded significant time. Zara assured him she managed multiple clients expertly. Travis added that he sensed this could lead to bigger opportunities, including future acquisitions needing ongoing support. As she drove home through Chicago traffic, she felt as if she inhabited someone else's life. 8 weeks earlier, her biggest concern had been dinner menus and Derek's iron shirts. Now she landed major corporate contracts and built a business capable of supporting her for years. Her phone rang as she pulled into the driveway. Rachel, her attorney, stated the papers were ready. Derek would be served tomorrow at 10 in the morning at his office. Zara confirmed she was prepared and remembered the instructions. Let all calls go to voicemail, document everything, engage only through counsel. She sat in her car a few minutes longer, preparing for the coming storm. Tomorrow, Derek's double life would detonate. He would realize his wife had known everything for months, gathered ironclad evidence, and built her own future while he assumed she remained naive and trusting. That evening, Derek arrived with Chinese takeout and unusual cheer. He announced closing a big deal with Morrison Industries, his largest contract of the year. Zara offered appropriate congratulations, while privately noting that she had just secured an even larger one. When he asked about her consulting, she mentioned landing a significant client. He responded absently, already scrolling his phone. She lied smoothly that he probably did not know the company. His phone buzzed and he smiled before typing a reply, almost certainly coordinating with Brittany. He mentioned possibly being out of town next week for a conference in Atlanta. Another lie. Tony's surveillance already confirmed a long weekend reservation at a mountain resort with Brittany, complete with a couple's suite and private hot tub. Zara remarked that it sounded important for business. Derek agreed casually. The ease with which he lied to her face was almost impressive. He had elevated deception to an art. After dinner, she finished the project timeline for Hartwell and looked forward to the work. Complex business problems felt far more manageable than complex personal ones. An email from Travis arrived expressing excitement about their partnership. The word partnership resonated. She was forging professional alliances based on mutual respect and shared goals, nothing like the one-sided marriage where Derek took everything and returned only lies. At midnight, Derek still had not come home. His working late excuse had grown transparent, yet Zara no longer cared. Tomorrow the pretense ended. She went to bed alone, as she had many recent nights, but for the first time in months she felt genuine hope. Tomorrow would be difficult, yet it marked the beginning of her authentic life, built on her terms, with her own success, and eventually shared with someone who would value her properly. Derek had chosen when he celebrated anniversaries with another woman. Now he would live with the consequences. Zara stood in her home office preparing for a client call when her phone erupted with notifications. Text after text from Derek, each more frantic. She had been served at 10 that morning, exactly as planned. It was now 10:47 and his meltdown unfolded in real time. She ignored every message and focused on the Hartwell call. Travis and his team discussed the operational review timeline. She explained how streamlining shipping and customer service first would deliver immediate gains in satisfaction scores. Her phone continued buzzing, but she kept it face down and remained fully present. Derek would wait. After the call, she reviewed the messages: 17 texts, 3 missed calls, 2 voicemails. Rachel phoned minutes later, asking how she was holding up. Zara replied, better than expected, because client meetings had kept her distracted. Rachel reported Derek's attorney had already called for an emergency meeting. She had pushed it to next week. The process server described Derek turning white, shaking, and needing to sit while his secretary brought water. Zara felt grim satisfaction. He had believed himself clever. The shock of discovering his wife knew everything must have been devastating. Rachel advised letting him stew over the weekend. Uncertainty would make him more reasonable in negotiations. Zara allowed herself to read the messages. The progression from fury to desperation to fear proved almost psychologically fascinating. Early texts raged that this was insane and she was ridiculous. Middle ones pleaded to talk and work it out. Latest ones warned not to throw them away. The irony was breathtaking. Her afternoon filled with productive client calls and business planning. Her practice boomed and she already considered hiring additional staff. The Hartwell contract alone required serious time, and 3 more major clients showed interest. It felt liberating to focus purely on work instead of the low-level anxiety that had shadowed her marriage for months. Now that she knew the truth and had acted, that anxiety evaporated. At 4 that afternoon, Derek appeared at the house. She watched from the office window as he climbed out looking wrecked, clothes wrinkled, hair messy, agitation visible even at distance. She decided to let him come to her. He pounded on the front door, demanding to talk. She opened it but did not invite him inside. He waved the papers and accused her of filing without discussion. She replied calmly that all discussions would go through attorneys. When he protested that he was her husband, she reminded him they needed counsel, especially after 18 months of lies. His face paled when she listed Brittany, Romanos, and the $400,000 hidden in secret accounts. He staggered as if slapped. "How did you know? When?" She stated she had known for months and documented everything. He tried to push past her into the house. She blocked the doorway and reminded him of the restraining order. His personal items waited packed in the garage. He protested he had never hurt her. She corrected that financial abuse counted as abuse, and taking $400,000 of marital assets to fund an affair constituted economic domestic violence. His shoulders sagged under the weight of reality. He asked where he was supposed to go. She suggested calling Brittany. He claimed he had ended it that morning, the moment the papers arrived, and realized what he was throwing away. Zara nearly laughed. Ending an 18-month affair the same day you get served is hardly romantic. He professed love and called it a terrible mistake. She replied coldly that he loved the comfortable life she helped build, not her. If he loved her, he would never have chosen this. He cycled through pleading, apologizing, promising counseling, and honesty. When none worked, he turned vicious, claiming she would never find anyone else and was simply a bitter woman discarding a good marriage over a mistake. Her composure finally cracked. An 18-month affair is not a mistake. Stealing $400,000 is not a mistake. Celebrating an anniversary with another woman while she sat alone on her birthday is not a mistake. Those were deliberate, selfish choices. He realized he had gone too far and apologized again. She told him goodbye. Any further communication went through Rachel Kim. She closed and locked the door, leaving him on the porch. Through the window, she watched him sit on the steps and drop his head into his hands. For a fleeting moment, she almost felt sorry. Then she remembered the photos of him and Brittany shopping for engagement rings, and the sympathy vanished. Derek had made his choices. Now he lived with the consequences. The next morning, she woke to discover he had called and texted all night. The messages cycled from desperate to angry to pathetic and back. She deleted them all without reading most and prepared for her day. She had a breakfast meeting with Travis to discuss the Hartwell project and wanted to appear completely professional and composed. Whatever drama Derek created would not touch her work. The meeting exceeded expectations. Travis had reviewed her preliminary recommendations and praised her thoroughness. He asked how soon she could implement changes. She assured him the shipping restructure would show results within 30 days. He called working with her one of his best business decisions in years. They spent another hour on details and timelines. Travis proved easy to collaborate with, intelligent, and respectful of her expertise. The relationship felt refreshing, built on mutual respect and shared goals. Driving home, she recognized how much her confidence had grown in recent months. Taking control of the divorce, building her business, working with clients who valued her skills, all combined to remind her who she had been before lies and neglect dimmed her light. Her phone rang. Tony reported interesting news. Derek and Brittany had a screaming public argument in the parking lot of her apartment building the previous afternoon, witnessed by several neighbors. Derek tried ending the relationship. Brittany accused him of using her and refused to let him walk away. "Trouble in paradise," Zara remarked dryly. Tony continued that Brittany showed up at Derek's office that morning causing a scene. Security escorted her out. She demanded to know why he abandoned her for that woman, meaning Zara. Derek spent the night at a hotel but called Brittany constantly. She was not answering. He had realized ending the affair proved more complicated than expected, especially when the other woman believed she was his future. Zara felt a complex mix of satisfaction that consequences had arrived, sadness that their marriage reached this point, and relief that she no longer pretended everything was fine. The house felt peaceful without his presence. She made lunch, worked in the garden, and organized business files. Simple activities that felt luxurious after months of walking on eggshells. That evening, Rachel called with an update. Derek's attorney wanted a meeting next week and requested all financial records and evidence. They would share only what the law required. Derek would be shocked by the volume of documentation. Tony's surveillance reports alone were devastating. The hidden assets remained the hidden bomb. His attorney seemed unaware of Rita's full investigation. They pushed for a quick settlement, assuming Zara held limited evidence and would accept less. They had underestimated her completely, which suited the case perfectly. That weekend, Zara visited her sister Carmen, who lived an hour away in the suburbs. She needed distance from the house and its constant reminders. Carmen, 3 years younger, had always been her closest confidant. Married to a genuinely good man named Luis, they had 2 young children who adored their aunt. "You look different," Carmen said as they sat on the back porch watching the kids play. "Stronger somehow." Zara admitted she felt stronger. She had been losing herself in that marriage without realizing it until she seized control. Carmen stated bluntly she had never liked Derek. Luis always sensed something fake about him. "Why didn't you tell me?" Zara asked. Carmen replied that Zara had been so determined to make it work, and she hoped she was wrong. They talked for hours about the business, future plans, and complicated emotions around the divorce. Carmen offered practical support and helped Zara process the feelings of ending a 7-year marriage. "Do you miss him?" Carmen asked as the sun set. Zara thought carefully. "I miss who I thought he was. I miss the marriage I believed we had. But the real Derek, the one who looked me in the eye and lied for months while stealing our money, I don't miss him at all." "Good," Carmen said firmly. "You deserve so much better." Driving home that evening, Zara felt at peace with her decision. Derek would probably keep trying to reconcile, but she was finished. The man she married had either never existed or vanished long ago. She was ready to build a life that was completely her own. The mediation meeting occurred the following Tuesday at Rachel's office. Derek arrived with his attorney Robert Chin, a nervous-looking man clearly unprepared for the case's complexity. Zara wore her best business suit, hair styled perfectly, carrying herself with the confidence of someone holding all the cards. Derek looked terrible. He had lost weight, clothes wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes. When their eyes met, he looked away immediately. Rachel opened the thick folder and for the next 2 hours presented the evidence methodically. Tony's surveillance reports, Rita's financial analysis, every document Zara had compiled. Photos of Derek and Brittany together, bank statements showing hidden transfers, credit card bills for romantic getaways. Derek's attorney grew visibly uncomfortable as the pile mounted. He whispered urgently to Derek, who simply stared at the table. Robert finally acknowledged the evidence was comprehensive and requested time to review. Rachel replied smoothly but made their position clear. Derek had dissipated nearly $400,000 in marital assets to fund his affair. He had deceived his wife and hidden assets in preparation for divorce. This would not be a standard 50-50 negotiation. Derek looked up and asked to speak privately. Rachel reminded him all communication went through counsel. He protested she was his wife. Rachel corrected that she was his estranged wife, who filed due to adultery and financial misconduct and held a restraining order against him. After they left, Zara felt emotionally drained but legally confident. Rachel assessed the meeting had gone better than expected. Derek's side had arrived assuming a routine negotiation. Now they understood they faced fraud, adultery, and asset dissipation. They would try minimizing damage and negotiating a settlement, but Zara's position was so strong they could likely secure everything she wanted. Meanwhile, Tony documented the aftermath. Brittany had been fired after the office scene. Her husband Paul filed for divorce and removed her from their house. She stayed with a friend and called Derek, constantly demanding help because his divorce had ruined her life too. Derek lived in an extended stay hotel and burned through his hidden assets rapidly. The boat was repossessed. The timeshare company threatened legal action. It was like watching a house of cards collapse, Tony reported. Derek had built an elaborate double life that proved completely unsustainable once exposed. In contrast, Zara's business thrived. The Hartwell project ran ahead of schedule and exceeded expectations. Travis already discussed additional contracts for the following year. "You have transformed our operations," he told her in their weekly check-in. "Productivity is up 25%. Customer complaints are down 60%. The board is considering a long-term consulting contract." Zara replied she would be very interested. Travis added they could keep her busy for years. Working with his team felt professionally satisfying in a way she had forgotten was possible. She was respected for her expertise, recommendations were implemented, and she saw direct results. More importantly, she built something entirely her own. Johnson Consulting now had 12 clients, 3 part-time employees, and a waiting list. 2 weeks after mediation, Derek called her directly, violating the restraining order. "Zara, please, just 5 minutes. I'm losing everything." She replied calmly that he should have considered that before stealing from her and cheating. He protested he had made mistakes, but this was destroying him. He had lost his business. Brittany would not stop calling. He could not afford the hotel much longer. "That sounds like a you problem, Derek." He asked how she could be so cold after 7 years of marriage. She reminded him that for 18 months of that marriage, he had planned his exit with another woman. He made his choice. She was making hers. She hung up and immediately called Rachel to report the violation. "File a police report," Rachel advised. "He needs to understand court orders carry consequences." That evening in her home office, Zara reflected on how completely her life had changed. 6 months earlier, she had been a betrayed wife with no real independence. Now, she was a successful businesswoman with a bright future and total control over her destiny. Derek had thought himself clever, maintaining his affair while keeping his comfortable home life. Instead, he had handed her the motivation to build something far better than they ever shared. His loss was truly her gain. 1 year after that devastating birthday dinner at Romano's, Zara returned to the same restaurant. This time, she sat at a table for 4. Travis sat across from her. Carmen and Luis completed the double date. Conversation flowed easily. Laughter felt genuine. The evening embodied everything a celebration should be. "Happy birthday, Zara," Travis said, raising his glass of wine, "to the most remarkable woman I know." She smiled and touched her glass to his. "Thank you. This is so much better than last year." Carmen nudged her gently under the table and suggested telling them about the Forbes article. Travis asked with genuine interest. Zara replied modestly that it was nothing major, simply a small feature on successful women entrepreneurs. Johnson Consulting had been highlighted in a story about the fastest-growing small businesses in the region. Carmen explained proudly that her sister was famous. Travis grinned. "I'm dating a celebrity and didn't even know it." Dating still felt new and wonderful. Zara and Travis had been seeing each other for 3 months now, after a full year of professional collaboration. The relationship had grown naturally from mutual respect and shared interests into something deeper and more meaningful. Travis was everything Derek had never been. Honest, supportive, genuinely invested in her success. He celebrated her achievements instead of feeling threatened. He felt proud to stand beside a successful woman rather than expecting her to shrink to protect his ego. "Speaking of success," Travis said, "I have news. The board approved the 3-year consulting contract we discussed. Johnson Consulting is now Hartwell Industries' official strategic partner." Zara felt a thrill. The contract was worth more than Derek had earned in his best year. "That's incredible," she said. "Thank you for believing in me." "You earned it," he replied. "We're just lucky to work with the best." After dinner, Travis walked her to her car. The night was warm and clear, perfect for quiet conversation. I have something for you, he said, pulling a small wrapped box from his jacket. Her heart skipped, then settled when she saw the box was too large for a ring. She was not ready for that step yet, and he respected her timeline completely. Inside lay a beautiful silver bracelet with a small charm shaped like a key. The key to your success, he said as he fastened it around her wrist. Though, honestly, you never needed anyone to unlock your potential. You just needed the freedom to use it. She kissed him softly. I love it, and I love that you understand me. I love you too, he said simply. It was the first time either had spoken the words, and they felt perfect in the warm Chicago night air. On the drive home, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. She waited until she parked in her driveway to check. Zara, it's Derek. I know I'm not supposed to contact you, but I wanted you to know I'm sorry. Really sorry. I see now what I threw away. If there's any chance. She deleted the message without reading further. Derek had tried contacting her periodically for months despite the restraining order and his attorney's advice. He had lost his business, his house, and most of his friends. Brittany had moved across the country after her own divorce, leaving him entirely alone with the consequences. Zara felt no satisfaction in his downfall, yet she felt no sympathy either. Derek had destroyed their marriage through his own selfish decisions. That his choices had also destroyed his life was unfortunate but inevitable. She had heard through mutual acquaintances that he now worked for someone else, earning a fraction of his former income. He lived in a small apartment and drove an old car. His comfortable life had evaporated along with the marriage. Meanwhile, Zara's life had flourished beyond her wildest expectations. Johnson Consulting employed 8 people and maintained a waiting list of potential clients. She had purchased a beautiful townhouse in the best part of the city and considered buying a vacation home in the mountains. More importantly, she had rediscovered herself. The confident, capable woman Derek had gradually dimmed was back, brighter than ever. As she unlocked her front door, Zara reflected on the journey from that devastating birthday dinner to this perfect celebration. The pain had been real and deep, yet it had led her to a life that was authentically her own. Her phone rang as she prepared for bed. It was Carmen asking if she had enjoyed the night. The best, Zara replied. Thank you for suggesting the double date. Travis is wonderful. Carmen noted that he looked at her the way Luis looked at her. I know it's scary and wonderful at the same time. Are you happy? Zara considered the question seriously. A year ago, she would have said yes, but it would have been the happiness of someone who did not know what she was missing. Now she understood the difference between mere contentment and real joy, between settling and thriving. I'm really, truly happy, she said. For the first time in years, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. After hanging up, Zara looked around her townhouse. Every piece of furniture, every decoration, every detail had been chosen by her alone. It was a home that reflected her taste, her personality, her success. Tomorrow, she would go to her office and work with her team on projects that challenged and excited her. She would build something meaningful and lasting brick by brick, decision by decision. And someday, when she was ready, she might share this life with someone who truly deserved to be part of it. Derek had believed he was trading up when he chose Brittany over their marriage. Instead, he had freed Zara to become the woman she was always meant to be. As she turned off the lights and headed to bed, Zara smiled. The best revenge truly was living well, and she was living very well indeed. You now hold the same strategy in your hands. Use it wisely. The board is yours. Move with cold precision and watch your empire rise.